when Ruth Martinez attempted to rescue her 10-year-old daughter, Camelia, from the rain-swollen river she had fallen into, they were both swept away in the swift-moving waters.
It felt like a vacuum, just stuck in my feet, and I lost it. I kept screaming, God, please don't take her away. Don't take her away.
Golden Fire Department, this is an all-call fire call. Respond to the area of Clear Creek by the campground, juvenile in the water.
And Glenn, you hear that?
Detective Stan Ross and Glenn Moore were on duty that day at the Golden Police Department.
Let's go take a walk along the creek, see if she comes out.
This time of year, the creeks are very full and very forceful because of the spring runoff. I thought if we would see her, she would be dead, and we would be pulling out a body.
Dexter, and I'll be walking the creek.
I mentioned to Glenn that I'm really not a very good swimmer, and he said, well, I'm not a very good swimmer either. And I looked at him and said, okay, partner, I'll save you if you save me. I didn't, in my wildest dreams, think that we would actually see her.
What's that over there? That's her!
Commander Bill Kilpatrick also heard the radio dispatch.
Had this call been aired 30 seconds later, 45 seconds later, we'd have never seen her in the water. She'd have been past us.
Going in.
There wasn't any time to do anything but just react. And the next thing I know, I went under. It was just like someone grabbed my legs and pulled me. I remember being just bounced around like a rag doll in the water, trying to get air and getting air sometimes, getting water other times. I was pretty scared. And I knew I had to get me out okay because I was obviously wasn't going to be saving anybody if I couldn't save myself. I didn't know where I was in respect to the girl or even Glenn or anybody else. I grabbed onto an overhanging tree branch, and that's when I looked up, and there was Glenn. He was doing his best to keep the girl's head above water. But every time he'd do that, he'd go under. And he hollered something about he can't hang on to her. We just looked at each other and we knew what to do.
I got her.
She wasn't coughing, she wasn't squirming. I didn't feel that I was looking at a little girl. I felt like I was looking at the body that had been that girl.
All right. Now.
I could tell her lungs were just full of water because I couldn't get any air to go in.
Let's move up here. Turn ahead.
We couldn't get a pulse, we couldn't get her breathing. And I just kept thinking to myself, no, I'm not going to let you die.
It was a very, very steep embankment next to the river.
Can't do it here. We gotta get her up.
We knew we had to get her up to a more level spot so that we could do CPR effectively. But I was so exhausted and it was slippery and we couldn't get her up. We slipped and fell, and here's Commander Kilpatrick out of nowhere.
I put my hands behind him, pushing him up the hill. And I'm thinking, well, I'm glad at least that the water's this cold because maybe it'll give this child the added chance at surviving because it slows down their metabolism.
Get him over here.
All units responding, some officer on scene. He is on the south side of the creek at the bridge.
Ruth met up with paramedics at a nearby campground.
I asked him, please take us with you, please take us with you. And I was hitting the hood of his ambulance, and he said they found her.
We were just physically and emotionally drained. You know, I thought of my own daughter, and even though we both were thinking this is hopeless, we just weren't going to give up. Commander Kilpatrick was able to flag down the other rescue people, and it was like the cavalry coming when they relieved us.
I recall Detective Ross and I stepping back and looking at each other in a daze. The thoughts start coming into your mind about oxygen deprivation to the brain, and if she was to come back, what quality of life was there going to be at that point?
When Foothills Ambulance paramedic Dana Hollingsworth got to the scene, Camellia still had no pulse and was not breathing.
Check your compressions.
I've had other drowning patients that were in the river just as long, and they didn't make it.
No one was telling me anything. I didn't know why they didn't want me to see her. I kept looking at the mountains and just kept hoping, just kept praying.
They finally managed to restart 10-year-old Camelia's heart at the scene. She was then taken to Lutheran Medical Center and examined by emergency physician Carla Murphy.
We do have a saying that no one is dead until they're warm and dead. Whereas a normal body temperature is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, Camelia's temperature was 83.6 degrees. And yet, we found that her pupils were unreactive, that she was breathing minimally, if at all. I expected her to either die or be a vegetable permanently.
Mrs. Martinez.
I was quite honest with her mother.
Dr. Murphy.
Camelia's mother did not seem to understand what I was telling her. Even when I took her into the room and showed her Camelia, totally unresponsive and in a coma, Mother continued to ask me, when will she wake up? None of us had ever seen anyone come back from the dead.
She may be able to hear you.
Honey. I figured she was in a faraway sleep and she'll come back. And I seen some water come out of her eye. And I didn't know if it was a tear, but all of a sudden I felt something between her and I. And it felt warm.
Camelia was transferred to Children's Hospital in Denver in a deep coma. During the next 3 days, her mother stayed by her side.
I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I didn't shower. I didn't care. I only cared about her coming back.
Camelia, we're here, okay?
And then she asked me to come to her mouth.
Camelia?
I put my ear by her mouth, and she said, God. First she said, God, and I said, God, what? And she said, God. God sent me back.
As soon as they told us that, I think a shiver started at the bottom of my feet and went to the top of my head.
I truly believe that this is a miracle. I just don't see any other explanation.
A year has passed.
I had to relearn how to walk and do everything again. It was hard to learn it.
She's still working on some of her schoolwork, but the more she practices, that will improve. And she's more at peace. She just knows things are going to be okay.
I'm glad that my sister is back to her old self, because we get to do things together again, make fun of each other.
The 3 officers who helped save Camelia's life were honored for their heroism by the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe and the Golden Police Department. But their greatest reward has been the appreciation Camelia's family has shown them.
They're proud of what they did, and they should be.
What have you been doing this summer?
Swimming.
Swimming? You like to swim?
Yeah.
Where are you swimming?
Pools, Congress.
No more creeks.
No more
You don't
creeks.
swim in rivers anymore?
No. It's fun to see the look on their faces, because they're shocked, I guess, to see that I'm alive.
The big one?
Yeah.
That one.
Everything that took place that quick, everyone who was involved, I'm so thankful for them. The guys who risked their lives, you know, they're angels.
Next.
He was messing with the wheel and he was trying his emergency brake, but he had too much speed.
Hey, you're going to run away, boss. You got to do something to stop it.
911, you have an emergency.